everybody, and welcome to another exciting week. I can't believe everyone's still watching this. week 10. Week 10 of Brian's Basement. I'm Brian, this is my basement, and we have a very special guest today that I'm very excited to introduce on the show. But before we do that, I'm going to play a song of mine. Um, the song that I'm going to play is a song about it's about a bridge that used to be on the road from where I grew up on the west side of Cincinnati over downtown, and they recently it was around 2014, I guess they tore it down, and it kind of had an impact on me because I felt like at the time a lot of the things that were built in the 20s to 50s were starting to get to their end of usefulness. And to me, it just seemed like that was a time when things were built out of purpose, with Art Deco or the post-war or the space race, and they're kind of being replaced by bland things. So this had an impact on me, and one of the things I think that I want to do as a folk singer is to just kind of record things that are important, even if they don't really make the news. So this is where that song's coming from. This is called The Waldvogel Viaduct. When we drove to the city, when I was a kid, we always took the way of the titled bridge, but they done torn it down, and all that remains is a fragment of a memory in the back of my brain, because the clumsy old bridge just couldn't contend when a city engineer ranked it 4 out of 10 for structural integrity that had to be condemned. So with 4 little words they sent it to its end, and they said, tear it on down, tear it on down, tear the Waldvogel Viaduct to the ground. There's no need to renovate, no hope to repair, no, tear it on down, and we'll forget that it was ever there. And with the Waldvogel Viaduct finally out of the way, Lower Price Hill could see the light of day, and the years of neglect and the urban decay show the Route 50 commuters its ugly face, and it stared deep into their souls with an empty glare, and they tried to look away and act like it wasn't there, but when they looked down the barrel of Old Church Street, well, none of them could cope, but all of them agreed to just tear it on down, tear it on down, tear Lower Price Hill right to the ground. There's no need to renovate, no hope to repair, no, tear it on down, and we'll forget that it was ever there. Where does it cease? When do we look around and finally see that we're plugging up the holes of a sinking ship, and we're running out of fingers to plug it up with, 'cause we keep tearing it down, tearing it down, tear this whole damn city right to the ground. There's no need to renovate, there's no hope to repair, no, we'll tear it on down, and we'll forget that it was ever there. Oh, that it was ever there. Oh, that it was ever there. Oh. All right, well, so with that out of the way, now I would like to introduce my guest at this time. I met her several years ago at a ukulele songwriting show at Motor. She is Indianapolis based, and I've been a fan. Jesus, I've been a fan from afar for a long time now. So I help me welcome, I guess. Oh yeah, you got the applause machine. Help me welcome Meghan Cristeen Martin. How's it going, Megan?
Hey, thanks for having
Oh,
me.
absolutely.
Cool.
Thanks for coming on the show. How's it going? What have you been doing today?
Um, well, I took a nap,
There you go. Wow.
made shepherd's pie.
I love shepherd's pie. It's a
It's
good
just
day
been
for
rain.
that.
It's been raining all day.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I have my the prop for tonight's show is my trusty bucket that I've been bailing out my basement all day in. So that's well, awesome. Well, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
How about let's start off with a song? Can you just tell us a little bit about what you're going to play and yeah, what's it called? I guess.
Okay, so I figured I'd play the ukulele first,
There you go.
and this is a song titled "You Are the One." It's not on a record at all, but it's
Ooh,
kind of
exclusive.
it's been written for over a year, but I haven't done anything with it yet. So
All right, this is Meghan Cristeen Martin. You're the one on Brian's Basement.
yeah. You've got the money and I've got the time. Steady on with the wind in her eye. There's not much to lose except me and you. Tell me, love, what you wanna do. 'Cause I've got the world on a string, and I don't wanna do this thing alone much longer. You are the one I'm thinking of. You are the one, my dear, my love. Well, everything's better with you, it seems. And here I am, still chasing my dreams. You can hitch a ride if you'd like. Make it clear and we'll leave tonight. 'Cause I've got the world on a string, and I don't wanna do this thing alone much longer. Yeah, you are the one I'm thinking of. You are the one, my dear, my love. Well, I'd like you to be by my side. There's no way that I'd ask you to stay. 'Cause you've got the money and I've got the time. Steady on with the wind in her eye. There's not much to lose except me and you. Tell me, love, what you wanna do. 'Cause I've got the world on a string, and I don't wanna do this thing alone any longer. You are the one I'm thinking of. You are the one, my dear, my love. Yes, you are the one I'm thinking of. You are the one, my dear, my love. Yeah.
Right. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Um, That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you kicked it off with a ukulele song because the first question I have is so what got you started writing and playing music, and why did you choose the ukulele?
Yeah, well, I did marching band in high school
Oh,
and I've always been around music. I never played a stringed instrument before, and I got a ukulele from my dad, like, I think when I was 18.
okay.
And I just started messing around with it, and what I really wanted was just be able to play music and was seeking out community. Like, you have your family in marching band.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was in band too, so I know exactly where you're
Yeah,
coming from.
yeah. So, yeah, and I learned my favorite songs first, and
And
then I started writing. I was like, maybe I could do this. Yeah, and
so
that's
what
really
what
started.
what were some of those early songs that you really wanted to play?
Oh, I was a big, well, still am, a big Jason Mraz fan,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
but it wasn't like I told someone, it's like, it's not I'm yours. I don't want to learn that one. Everybody knows that
I
one.
learned that one for Kim in college. Yeah.
I don't even remember which one I ended up choosing. It's been too long now, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, just like one of the Curbside Prophet songs. I love that album. So
That's
yeah.
that's awesome. And so did you immediately like what you so you're writing your songs and playing some stuff. Did you when did you like find that community that you were kind of seeking with through the instrument? What was that? How did that manifest itself?
So I grew up in the South in Florida, and I went to school after went to college. Basically flunked out because I was bored and and then I just really, needed a new start, I think, at 21. And my dad had always said, you can come on up to Indy and start here if you want. So I took that offer, and um, then I was told that there's this big ukulele gathering in Brown County, Indiana, which is about a couple hours south of here from Indy, and went there with my family and found this huge group of people. And I played on stage for the first time
Wow.
solo and at their open mic. And then I had friends, well, now they're friends, but strangers, people I'd just been introduced to, tell me how great I was and that I should pursue it as a career. And that's where I found my community.
Wow. So wow, that's really because so the event you're talking about is Ukulele World Congress, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't made it out myself, but I found out about it at that motor show because like that's
Yeah.
where everyone but me uh, knew each other from that
Yeah.
event. Can
Yeah.
you tell me a little bit about just a little bit about it, like what it's like, what kind of happens there?
So, keyword is gathering. A lot of people want to call it a festival, but it's really not about, you're not selling goods. You're camping. It's primitive camping. It's a
Nice.
party. It's a invite. Well, I don't want to say invite only, but it's kind of word of mouth. It started as like a forum. It's called Ukulele Underground is a website. It's been around over a decade. And a lot of when this big party started, my friend Mike Hader is the host, he and his wife Tupta. Um, they invited a handful of people. Hey, come out to Brown County, Indiana, and let's jam around a campfire. And this was became the first gathering, and it grew from I don't know how many people, maybe 20 people to like hundreds of people. There are over at least during the weekend throughout the day. There are at least 500 to 800 people that show up.
Whoa.
It's crazy.
S-
Um,
Yeah, so
but
your first experience playing on stage was in front of like a crowd of like that caliber.
well, and then they're not all in one spot
Sure,
either. So
sure.
there's two separate fields. There's a creek that goes between these fields in the middle of nowhere, and people are camped out throughout the field. Some people don't even come near the stage; they camp way across the way, and then you can hear the music from the stage on the like second half of the field, and and people just walk around and play and jam. They jam while the open stage is going on, and the open stage goes sometimes, not intentionally, but sometimes till 4 in the morning.
Wow.
It's crazy,
I
but
just
it's
I was just reading that like the Woodstock sets went like to like 4 to like 6 in the morning, and I had no
yeah,
idea. Uh,
yeah. I didn't really know that either until I had to do a Woodstock tribute
oh,
last year. But yeah, it goes all night, and we're having a good time. We're drinking. It's always a safe space. You're free to be who you are. Um, and if you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you'll get kicked out, and we all know that.
oh, okay. Well, I
But
think that seems like a very conducive atmosphere for playing music. So how do you so you go there and you get on stage
mhm.
and you're obviously great, and so they then people say you should start doing this. So how did you then make the jump from first time on stage at Ukulele World Congress to then like kind of like playing like paid gigs around town?
So there were a handful of people. We have friends in Missouri who are in a band. Tom Palazzola is in a band called the Flea Bitten Dogs, and they tour throughout the year. And they were looking to play. They like playing places that are really small and out of the way, and they're like, we're going to be in Metamora, Indiana, and
Oh,
we're
nice.
inviting you and like 4 other women to come play, and we're calling it the women or the ladies of UWC. And that was like my first paid gig.
Oh, cool.
uh, and that was that September of that same year. And from then on, I started, my dad, helped me out a lot the first year too, getting me some places to play. And I just sat in with him. And then slowly it kind of trickled, and people were hearing about me and like, oh, Megan writes her own music. And it just became a path that it just flowed.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like I have this theory that everyone has like there's like one person or one like group of people that like is what gets you into it.
Hmm.
And it's always like it always ends up being like something organic like that. And this is just like anecdotal stuff that I hear from like the Working Songwriter podcast, and then my own experience and a lot of people on the show was like, yeah, I went to this open mic, and then like someone there was cool and like let me open for
Right.
them, and like I just think it's really cool figuring out who everybody's like little like gateway group or person
It's your
is.
foundation for sure, and the ukulele world is my foundation.
Yeah, I maybe I could get one of them invites to Ukulele World Congress, maybe.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Uh,
I think we tried that night. And you were like, "What's that,
yeah,
Noah?"
I know, because like I said, I was the only one that was there that didn't come for that. But that's the person that invited me. It was Richard. Shout out Richard.
Yes.
Yeah, we gotta have Richard on the show. What the hell? How have we not had Richard
Yeah.
on?
I have a story about Richard, but we can continue.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, let's save the story until he's on the show, and then we can have you call in and tell the
There
story.
we go.
What you mentioned some of like the songs that you were playing early on, um, so what would be some like artists that you admire for like their songwriting, performance, and or musicianship? I think for me, like I think of like different like I like I like John Darnielle the Mountain Goats. I love his stage presence. Like I want to do that. But like I love like Joe Pug's songwriting. Like I want to do it. So like do you have like a is there like a group like a triad that you would say that you look to?
Well, I'd say in the modern world, I'm a huge like I love Brandy Carlisle.
Yes.
Big and the twins. And you can't forget the twins. I admire her tenacity. I admire, her charity work and what she does for people, just as a person, let alone a musician. And she just produced was it Tammy Wynette,
Yeah.
like her latest record, and got her a Grammy. Like, just she's just awesome. And I got to see her live in Floyd, Virginia, like 5 years ago.
Oh
And
wow.
that was just a really, really incredible experience, and really grateful to be able to see her at her best.
Yeah, yeah, super cool. Well, how about another song? It's
Hmm.
about that. It's about that time, I think, for another song. What do you think?
Okay. All right. Should I play guitar this time?
Oh yeah, you can upgrade into the.
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
that's what people tell me to do, but I don't.
I'm winging this.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I just broke my pen for 10 weeks straight. I'm winging this.
Yeah.
So
So this is a song. It's titled "Outside Your Comfort Zone."
all right, this is outside your comfort zone. Meghan Cristeen Martin here on Brian's Basement.
You wouldn't reach me in the city. You wouldn't take the chance to sing about the sweeter times, to teach me how to dance. I've been floating around the countryside, hesitating, trying not to call you out. Remember when you used to call me darling? Remember how you'd hint at what I promised I would never give in to. I've been floating around the countryside, hesitating, trying not to call you out. I only do this to myself. I love the space between. Far enough is never right away. Longing for you should never be a thing. I've been floating around the countryside, hesitating, trying not to call you out. I've been floating around the countryside, trying to get back what I thought I could hide. You wouldn't reach me in the city. You wouldn't take the chance. It's much too far outside your comfort zone. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. That was great.
Thank you.
If any of the dear viewers out there would like to ask a question for Megan or myself, then just drop it in the comments section. We got Kim watching the comments for your questions, and she will read them as they come in. So feel free to post those in the live chat. But meanwhile, I have questions too. So let's talk about songwriting a little bit. What is your general process for getting an idea and then getting it on paper and then getting it to recording? Like how does that look for you?
Well, if you remember, in like high school for me, when teachers would tell you, here's a little prompt, start writing, you know?
Yeah.
And generally, I keep journals. Like this is mine. I don't know if you can see currently. It's just like of random stuff.
Okay.
And I just write and write and write and write. And then sometimes I'll find a good line. I'm like, oh, that works. And then it turns into a poem. And then sometimes it turns into verses. And then it takes a lot of what I write just comes from personal experience or something cool that I read, or it happens to be like something that somebody said to me, 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember that. I'm gonna think about how to make this unique and my own.
So you're
So
you're you're keeping just kind of like a record of thoughts that gets kind of refined down to a poem and then a song.
yeah,
That
essentially.
is super cool. Does that make it hard sometimes to um if like how do you approach the thing like well I need like do you ever feel like you need to write a song and it's like well I don't have all that I have is this giant pile of thoughts.
Yes.
Oh.
Sometimes, I try to dedicate myself at least, I don't really time myself, but at least an hour of just like I need to sit, I need to write and just write to write, just to get it out. Because I think for a long time I struggled to really communicate my feelings towards just people in general. And then when I found that when I would write it out, it was good for me. Um, and I had this friend when I was in middle school, um, and I would write my feelings. Like I was so mad, like I was so mad at her or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
And like, dear diary, this person did this to me, and I'm mad about it. And um, she found my journal and she read it and she gave it to her parents,
Oh
and
God.
it was like she was just always really like jealous. I feel looking back now, but she like, and I was so mad. I was like, why would anyone like do that? So
Yeah.
for a long time, I didn't write anything, and I was like, I guess if I write something, somebody's gonna find it and they're gonna be mad about it. But
Oh
yeah,
jeez.
yeah, it's just I have to write. I just have to do it to feel good about myself.
Yeah, I think that's it's supposed to be a super healthy practice.
For
I
sure.
would say that my process is similar, but it's more it's less it just kind of takes place in my head. But I have the same problem where it's like if someone's like, "Hey, can you write can you write a song now?" I'll be like,
Uh,
"Well, I can write
yeah.
something, but it'll be crap." And it won't be in any way marketable or have any feeling in it at all.
Or it's just like these one-liners I'll get, and I'm like, this is cool, but I can't do anything with it.
Right.
Let's do
Like
with it.
I'm doing this song a day in May, which I'm gonna talk about apparently every episode in May. But
Okay.
it's like that where it's like forcing yourself to write a song, and they're all just like some of them are just like have like nuggets of good stuff, but like
Yeah.
most on a whole they're just mostly mostly crap. Um, Kim, you got a question over there? Is it?
Yes. So Scott types in with two questions.
Oh, Scott's got two
So
questions.
yeah,
Oh
and maybe
wow.
Brian can elaborate a little bit more because he knows what Scott usually asks. But the best advice.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that's question number one. And then the second question is, what song in the last 10 years do you wish you would have written? So I don't know if this is towards
Ooh.
both of you or just towards
Yeah,
Megan,
well,
but I think it
well,
would be interesting if you both answered.
we'll let the guest answer. So the first question is this is like Scott's question, which I do like. So thank you, Scott, for writing in. And it is what is the best advice you've received about music? It can be about writing, performing, playing the instrument, doing booking gigs, whatever it is. Being a general, the general insecurities and ups and downs of being a musician. What would be the best advice that you've heard?
Um, I mean, I think a general explanation would be, um, actually, you know what? No, I take that back. I have a friend, his name's CISO. You may have heard of him. He's based in Chicago. He's also a ukulele player. I was struggling calling myself a musician in the beginning, for sure,
Oh yeah.
because I didn't feel like I didn't feel like my quality was there yet.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're a musician. What are you doing?" It's like, "Well, no, I'm not. I like play two chords and I have a song that might be good." He's like, "No, no, no. You're a musician. Don't hesitate."
Yeah.
You know what I
No,
mean?
that's right on. I love that.
Yeah. And I was just like, and it took me a while to get used to saying it. I had to say it over and over, like, I am a musician. I am a musician. And so now today, and that was like 6 years ago. So when I really started to write and was beginning to perform out, um, now when I go to someone locally anyway, I have someone who's like, they usually introduce me like, this is my friend Megan. She's a musician. I'm like, yes, I am a musician. I'll
Yeah.
handshake somebody. I'll introduce myself and I say, hey, I'm Megan. I'm a musician. Or, and then responses usually it's whatever. And I used to be so insecure about that.
Well,
For sure.
it's kind of that kind of like is like the whole like imposter syndrome thing. Like,
Yeah.
what if people find out that like I know it to be true, but like what if people find out that I'm not like really good or like, I'm a hack, and what if they figure it out? Like that's a very prevalent thing, I think, for
Yeah.
any kind of like artist that like has a like modicum of introspection. Yeah, and I think that that's like one of the things that like why I'm like really attracted to like lo-fi artists, because they just put stuff out there, and some those people they don't have like any reservations. They're like, this is what I do. I make music, and so
Right.
that
And then once you have that stuff like behind you, like before I didn't have an album. I didn't have songs that were ready for to record. Um, but now I can say, hey, I'm a musician. I have 3 albums behind me.
yeah, yeah, that's
So,
great. And
and
so I'll go on. Sorry.
oh no, no, I was just gonna say, like, to summarize that, it's like even if you feel like you're just dabbling, like it could be something. Don't hesitate. Just do it.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. So the second question that Scott asked is kind of one that I had written down. So I'm going to kind of modify it. He said, "What is a song that you had wished you'd written?" Which I think is similar to this question. I really like that Joe Pug
Hmm.
asked on his podcast, which is, "What is a song that you consider to be like an exceptionally well crafted, or not that perfect is a dumb way to describe a song, but an exceptionally well crafted song." And his example is "Amazing Grace." He says, it's just the most beautiful song, and it has so much like good imagery and so much power to it. So that's what he looks for. So do you have a song like that you can look to and think like that's the perfect song?
And I go to songs that everybody knows that have been around. I think Dolly Parton, uh, "I Will Always Love You," is one
Oh
of the
yeah,
is one of the best love songs ever. And as she wrote that for Porter Wagner when she's trying to get off the show because he wasn't listening. And to me, that I can relate to that because I feel like with a lot of people, I have a hard time explaining how I feel. And then once I write that in song, it's just much easier to sing it than say
right,
say it.
sure.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think that's
Sidebar:
that's
Did you listen to Dolly Parton's "America"?
No.
Oh, it's a podcast. It's great. It's all about Dolly Parton.
Oh, I
Yeah,
should I should check that
it's
out.
fantastic. But yeah, that whole story I think is a perfect example of why that is a great song, because you
Yeah.
can you fight for years, but then like the one song actually is what can really drive the point home.
Yeah, and it goes to show that music touches emotions that, you know, spoken words don't necessarily do, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So Scott, thank you for the questions. We got another one. Kim's got the microphone. That means there's another question.
Yes. We'll go with Alex's question next. He says, "What song or achievement is Megan most proud of?"
All right.
Oh. Um so I have a song from 2 albums ago. It's a title track from the album Breaking Points. It's Breaking Points. Um, when I wrote it while I was in the middle of a breakup, and it was so emotional and anxiety ridden, and I wrote it out. And at the time, I was like, "This is not gonna make." I was recording. I was getting ready to go into the studio. I was like, "I don't know if this is gonna be worth it. I'm gonna take it in, see it. It was gonna be on the back burner." I wasn't prepared to record it. And then uh, I didn't realize that a friend of mine, an old acquaintance, was going to be in studio, and she played cello. She's like, "Hey, if you want me to play on any of this, like, feel free, let me know." And I was like, "Yes, please." um, Her name's Kels. She goes by Kels Von Strantz. She's based in Atlanta. Um, I presented this song. I was like, there's one song that I think you may be able to play on. And it's a very raw record in general, and that song is really raw. And I didn't, honestly, looking back, like, I don't want to touch that record. That I wouldn't change it, but it's wrong musically. But I am really proud of it because I put that emotion there, and I had the raw emotion at the time, and I feel like it really helped me transition into where I needed to be afterwards. So
Yeah, it's a great song, and actually that whole album I think is fantastic, and I definitely want to talk about that a little bit, especially in comparison with your latest one. Um,
yeah.
but to keep on the songwriting thing, um, so this is actually kind of a good segue into this next question. Your songs are a lot about. You have a lot of songs about relationships, but
Mhm.
all types of relationships, not just
Yeah.
bad ones, but good ones and romantic, platonic, all kinds of different interactions with people. What do you think draws you to that subject, and how do you? Is there like a different way that you approach writing a song for a different type of relationship?
I think it's because I love people in general. I like being around people. Um, I'm also an introvert, so it's that weird balance.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I don't know. It's what I know. It's easy. Like I like observing people, but not in a creepy way. Like I just behavior is interesting to me, um, just in general,
Yeah.
and you know, it it's what I know, and you have to write what you know, I guess.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that's yeah, I think well, I mean like people are so interesting. Like there's his entire like half of TV shows are just put people in a room and see what they do.
right,
So,
right. No, I mean, but the difference, like romantic relationships, are so personal. But I think there's a lot that can be said that I think. Well, honestly, I think people are too scared to write what they're feeling, and Breaking Points was one of those songs. Like I was still living with my boyfriend at the time, and we just we struggled, and I recorded that song, and I released one record that December or January, and then I went into the studio in January, and we broke up in January, and then I released the album in February of the next year. It's just crazy, but anyway. But I brought the song after it was recorded, and I had him listen to it, and we sat in the same room, and I was like, "Here, I want you to hear this."
really? Wow.
Yeah.
That is
So
terrifying to me.
it was awful, but I had to do it. I
Right.
just and because honestly, like he kept telling me, he's like, I've hit my breaking point with you, and I was like, okay. So I had him listen to the song, and he was like, this is exactly how I've been feeling. How did you know? And I was like, because I've been trying to tell you, but you're not listening.
Yeah. Wow.
you know.
That's
But
so cool. I can't wait to listen to that song again now with knowing that whole aspect of it.
yeah.
Um, so is so do you is there any way um the subject of people in relationships is something interesting to you. Do you have any like little things that you do to get get motivated and get inspired to write if you feel like you're in a particularly dry spell?
um yeah, I mean, I will play. I usually like take my guitar or ukulele and I'll play the same like three chords or different chord progressions. Or sometimes I'll pick a song that I know and I'll just kind of go through that and try to get inspired by that. Just musically, not like the writing and the music kind of come later, but um, I just I just start playing and think of like start humming a tune, or or in general I'll just um, like day to day things. I find myself singing. Like one time, a friend told me, they're like, "Do you know you hum when like in the space between conversations? Like you don't like silence." It's like, do I? Like, yeah, you do that. I was like, no, I had no idea. But it's just like I like to hum a little bit and like, okay, maybe that'll work. And then sometimes I don't even record myself. I just try to figure it out. Like, or I'll write a song or I'll write words and I'll try to hum something and play something and see if that works. And then I set it aside later and then I forget what I just thought through and start over.
So
But
it sounds like you kind of drum up like the energy from like within yourself. Like
right,
like you just
right.
like
It's
just
very
start the engine and start the ball rolling
yeah.
and then it will manifest, it'll snowball.
Yeah, it's a very like I have to feel like I'm in isolation. I need the space in order to go through my process. Otherwise, if I hear a noise like from another room or if there's like, other like I can't have two songs going at once ever.
Really?
Like yeah, I can't listen to like if I'm talking to you right now and there's music playing, I'm going to be focusing on that
Oh
rather than
yeah, I can't do that either.
rather than what you're saying to me. Like
Or like, do you know this song? And then like there's a song on at the bar, and it's like, no, I can't.
yeah.
I can't even tell you how it goes right now because,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Cool. And then I've got another question here from my mom. She texted to
Oh,
me. She gets direct access. She doesn't have to
sure.
go through YouTube. But her question is, how many songs make an album? And I actually think this is kind of an interesting question because um, I prefer personally to do like really short, really like 5 to 7 songs. Like I like doing that,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
noticed that some of your releases are like that too. Is there a reason behind that? Like, is that like part of your philosophy on that?
Well, Brian, it's money.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true. Well,
Let's
I do all
it's
mine at home, so mine is just lazy.
well, I don't trust myself to make a good album. Solo. I'm not really tech savvy per se, but I would prefer to do a full length. I haven't done that yet. But all I have is like 4 or 5 songs for the well, the first one was 7 songs, and I still call that an EP because I feel like there's a lot missing to it because it was just me on my voice, my songs on ukulele. That's it.
Hmm.
Um, but then some people see it as, oh, that no, that's a full album. I'm like, yeah, but I want more on that. There's a lot more that could be done with it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Well, I think that the distinction isn't super important, and to like directly answer your question, Mom, I don't. There is really no magic number. and there's really no magic time length for it to be an album or EP. Personally, I like to keep it small because I think that a lot of people aren't big album listeners. Put on the album and just let it play for half hour to 45 minutes straight. I think that
Not anymore, no.
yeah, and I think that even personally, I like going through like these like predetermined like these like self-contained chunks of like a contiguous idea, and so
Yeah.
like I actually think less is more in that case, and so I mean that's how I approach it at least. So I think
Right.
there's really more to it than just like the studio time or whatever. Like I don't know. So
Well, yeah, if there's a theme too, and
yeah,
there's only so much that can be said within that theme, I think, depending on, the artist too.
right.
Um,
Totally, yeah. I think it's also conducive to concepts and concept albums and things like that. So
mhm,
cool.
mhm.
Well, thanks for the questions, everybody. We'll still take some more on there, but I think how about song number 3, Megan?
All right. Do you have any requests?
Do
Oh
I have
man,
any requests?
I don't
What's the
know.
one? Um, it's like I think it's like the third track on the new album. Good,
Gosh.
good to something. Hold
It was closer to. I don't even know.
on. It's the
Oh,
it's the one that kind of has it has like the kind of like the bluesy boogie woogie feel to it.
oh yeah, yeah. I think that's it.
What's it called? I'll know if you tell me the name.
He said, "Don't mess us up, 'cause you've had enough of the bad times. You're the kind of woman many folks are lucky to have in their
was closer to you on the Garage Country demos,
Yeah,
right?
and I totally forgot the modulation there, so my bad.
The what?
No, there's a key change, and I like started in the higher key,
Oh.
so I know I probably don't need to share that, but if you listen to the album, you'll hear
Yeah.
it.
So, that was a song off your latest album, Garage
Yes.
Country Demos. And that is it has a really that's like kind of like the first one you did with like your full band, right?
Yes, indeed.
So we were I was watching another interview of yours and saw that you kind of formed your band in its present form for a battle of the bands, which is exactly what I did. So I thought that was like really cool. And so, can you just tell us a little about the other two members of your band and
Sure.
what they each kind of bring to your sound?
Yeah, so my buddy Brent Schlemmer plays bass, plays baritone guitar and 12-string bass for the album and performance. And he's awesome. I met him through a brewery called Books and Brews, but apparently he's known my family for a long time. um, no, he's great. Like he one day came up to me. I met him at the open mic that he hosted, and he was like, "Megan, we should play together." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I'd love to play with you anytime. Let me know." And then I was like, "Okay." So we played some stuff together, played a few shows here and there, all Books and Brews stuff. And then one day he was like, "Megan, I'm gonna play any show you want me to. Let me play with you every time." I was like, "Wait,
Whoa!
really?" And he was like, I wanna play music with you all the time." And I was like, "So you want to be a duo?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Nice.
So, and he and I did a little tour last year in July, which I mentioned in the other interview, and really what it was is we did a show near Atlanta, Georgia, and then we did a thing in Evansville, Indiana, and then we did something in like Madison, Wisconsin, and that was it. That was our tour, and it was in like a week, and it was great. And
That
then
sounds
Battle of the
awesome.
Bands came up that fall, and I was like, well, what are we gonna do? I don't know what I want to do. I could do a full band thing, like bring on like everyone I know that I've played music with and put a full band together. He's like, but we could just do a three-piece. And I was like, oh. So then I was like, well, I guess I need to find a drummer that's available at this time. And then I had a friend, my friend Nate Rabb, and I had collaborated on his album with a guy named Morgan Evans. Uh, Young kid, only 20 at the time, and I was like, is that gonna work? And he's phenomenal. He plays keyboards, he plays drums, he plays guitar, he does everything. He can sing a little bit. And I was like, hey, you want to do this Battle of the Bands with me and Brent? And he was like, of course, I'll play anything you want. He again was like, we did a house show with Nate for Nate's album, and his parents were there too. And they're like, we know your dad, and they're like, we're really excited Morgan's playing music with you. And I was like, okay. And Morgan was like, hey, if you ever need like studio work, I'd be happy to work with you. I was like, well, by the way, I need a drummer. And he was like, yeah, I can do that too. I was like, seriously, you can play drums too? I've only seen you play keys. He's like, yeah, I play everything. Let me play
Wow.
with you. And I was like, okay.
So you didn't really build the band so much as the band came to you.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
We're
That's how my bass
talking about
player came to
yeah.
me. He was at open mic. He's like, "Can I play songs with you?" I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, no.
Yeah. So then, yeah, Battle of the Bands came, and we got together at Morgan's parents' place, and they have a big room just full of gear, music gear, just full. And the three of us jammed once a week, and I wrote songs once a week, and we had our, set ready and to go, and we did it, and we've been doing it ever since. So
So the question on everyone's mind: did you win Battle of the Bands?
no,
Yeah, we didn't either.
it was fun.
Yeah.
Honestly, we didn't know who we were going to be up against, and there was like a slot of several weeks of Battle of the Bands, and we had the last week of the first round, and we were in with like another like metal band. It was like there's no way. I'm the only female. Like it was a struggle.
Yeah. Well, that's so. You mentioned in this other interview I watched of yours that you had to stretch your like vocals to kind of meet the like the force of the band,
Yes.
which I've always thought that you've had very like powerful, strong vocals. Anyway, but did you notice that you changed your approach to songwriting too when thinking about the band?
Definitely. Like how I write is usually like I wouldn't say run on sentences, but they're just like run on thoughts in a way. And then I kind of form the rhythm to my voice. So I'm not thinking about what I'm doing like on guitar or ukulele or whatever. I'm more focused on my words
Hmm.
and what I'm singing. So when I brought songs to the band, they were like, "Hey, you need to figure out how to let us into the space. We need space in these parts." And they really helped me in a lot of ways. They didn't write the songs, but they helped format them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So like we tried to like the song Breaking Points. We tried to do a version of that, and I was like, this can't be slow. This has got to be completely different. So we did like, and we never got to actually perform it because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But we kind of revved it up and then slowed it down towards the end to kind of go back to the more truth of the song, kind of an ode to that. But it's like I did a Ramones tribute for a charity event and last fall, and so it was like every song we did that was from the old stuff from the other albums. Brent was like, "We need to make the like Ramones version, just Ramones version. Let's make it fast." But yeah, I just like I so outside your comfort zone. That last song I did, I was or the two songs ago. It became like I was just like thinking like how do I form it for the band, and that was the first song I wrote new for them, and I think it works.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, totally. And the first song that I saw with the band was your Tiny Desk contest submission, that Lydia,
Yeah,
and I was like, this is a jam. Like this is
yeah,
sick.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so speaking of kind of the difference of the old songs and the new songs, Breaking Points is like very folky. Like it's very kind of stripped down. It is a little slower. It's kind of more of like my style, I would say. And
Sure.
then your newest one with the band's called Garage Country Demos. Um, so like how was the recording experience specifically different? And if you could just define garage country for all of our dear viewers out there.
Definitely. So Breaking Points was a funded album by a non for profit entity called Fourth Sunday Music Company, and the guy who runs that, his name's Craig Helmreich, and he came up to me. He was like, "I would love to produce a new album for you," and I said, "Well, I just released one." He's like, "Well, you can record these and do whatever you want with them." So I had songs. Some of them were from the first album I did, and what I wanted to do was just do like have a band record it, and so I brought in people that I knew could do it on the fly. That one being said was my dad played dobro, and a little guitar on it, and just little bits and pieces. I had his friend Ryan Shore plays drums with him. I just pulled in people that were there or that I knew would be able to make it, and we made it work. Versus Garage Country Demos was I wanted to record those songs mostly just so I could hear what they sounded like for Battle of the Bands.
Okay.
Like we could have totally done a home studio thing, but I had a friend reach out, Chris Colmar, in Logansport, Indiana, and he's got a friend who has a home studio in the middle of nowhere again. um, and what it is like it's a garage, and this guy on like lives on cornfields. Like it's you have to drive 20 minutes to get to it in order to find it.
Yeah.
And like I would not be able to find it on my own. And I had an amp that I borrowed from my dad. I had my electric guitar, and I was like, Brent, Morgan, if you guys want to show up, you may get lost. I ended up getting lost, but we showed up, and Chris had us stay on his. He had a little tent, not tent, but a what do you call it? He had a place for us to stay on his land, and stayed there overnight. Brent came for the day. Left in the middle of the night after recording the stuff, and we did it all in one night within a few hours.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That's super cool. Yeah, that's very different than the first one.
And so to define garage country,
yeah.
So it was either Brent or Chris. I can't remember now, but I think it was Chris. But he was like, I really dig this sound. I was like, well, what do you think it is? Because in my head, I'm like, I don't know what this is. And he was like, it's got that garage. There's still some country, but it's definitely like it's kind of rock and roll. I dig it. I really like the sound. Your drummer's kind of like, he was like, your drummer's kind of like chill. Like he's not overpowering, and Brent's great, and we may have to mess with a few things, but I think this works. I was like, okay, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
But that's really what it came to be. Is like me solo. I have that some country twang. Totally. It's there. It's not gonna go away. And honestly, like, with Brent and Morgan, if it was anybody else, I don't think it would be what it is. So,
that's so cool, and that's what I think a really good band, is like. That's what having those people in the band. That's why you have them, right?
Right.
So I got just a couple more questions. We're running over on time, but I feel like I could talk to you for for hours about like songwriting stuff. So, but there's some questions in the comment section. Kim, do you want to read them? Because I don't have the names in front of me, and you showed me, and I kind of forgot already.
All right, I got you. All right, so let me find them. All right, so S. Very says, what would you like to be doing creatively, say 5 years from now? A long-term goal or just something you hope to achieve?
What was the last part?
It could be like a long-term goal or just something you hope to achieve.
Okay. That's funny because that's my aunt.
There you go.
I think that she's asking this for a reason. No, so...
Maybe she meant it for me. Do you want me to answer it?
No, so that's my mom's sister. It's funny. I'm glad she's watching. I actually am working on... So I have a Patreon page.
Nice.
I don't know if you've heard of Patreon, but... So what I'm doing right now is once a week I'm writing poetry, and I'm putting that out there for my patrons. There's not a whole lot of patrons on there, but it's a start. It's something new, because I write in my journal all the time, and there's a lot that I'm not putting in songs, and a lot of those can be put into poems. And so that's what I'm doing for my patrons anyway. And what I want to do with that is I want to write a book. That's next time. I haven't put that out publicly, but...
Whoa, another exclusive? Wow.
No, so, and I don't know if that's something that will thrive or what's going to happen with it, but creatively, it seems to be the best time to do it, because who knows when I'll be able to perform as a three-piece again, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I think when I think about me in like 5 years, it's just like, I want to still just be doing this. Like I still want to be writing. I still want to be recording in any way that I can, and just constantly making stuff. And I hope that people care. But if they don't, the important thing is that I hope that I'm still doing it. And then what was that? What was the other question, Kim?
Okay, and then Andrew Rusk asks, what was your favorite moment of your music career?
Okay, so I am a huge Patsy Cline fan.
Yeah.
And I got a record for my grandmother one year when I was little, and it was my connection piece, essentially. And I used to listen to it all the time. So last year, in April, I put together a band for a Patsy Cline show um, at a local honky tonk bar called Duke's, and performed that to a packed house. I made the announcement 4 months ahead of time on Facebook, and I was like, nobody's gonna show this. Nobody knows who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I made it free. It was a first Friday event, which everybody comes out for. So I was relying on that. Um, and this at the time, Dukes was just doing tips only. So I was only relying, like, payment was only going to be on tips.
Yikes.
So yeah, and I was like, we're just gonna have fun with it. And I made it sort of a mix of a family friend band. And yeah, we packed that house. I was all dressed up, and it's probably my proudest moment. I want to do it again, but I haven't figured out what to do, when to do it.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
we like I was sitting there like, and I'm telling you, it used to be called the Ice House. Was I don't know if anybody's heard of that in Cincinnati, but yeah, it's just a local Indianapolis bar on the south side, and I was standing there with my band on the sidewalk watching cars fly in from God knows where. It was amazing. My whole family was there. My grandparents got to see it. Like, it was the first time they really saw me as a performer, and it was the best night I've ever had. And to celebrate, like, afterwards, the bass player I was working with at the time, Jim Holden, we both, like, he was like, let me buy you a whiskey. So we're just sitting there at the bar, the bartender's like, and I'm like, man, I'm so proud of this and what we did. And the bartender's like, you should be.
Yeah, awesome.
it,
That's so cool.
it's completely different to the songwriting stuff, but honestly, that's probably the most fun I've
Yeah,
had.
yeah,
Really.
totally. I mean, having a great crowd that someone actually, unprovoked told you how good it was. That's that's the whole point of it,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
that reminds me of a question that I forgot to ask that I wanted to ask. I know we're like overtime, but like I'm just like I
We're
got to.
having fun. It's fun.
Yeah, Kim says it's my show. You're right. It is my show. If you guys got things to do, all you viewers out there, go do them. We'll be here. Anyway, I wanted to ask about Indianapolis
Okay.
because it's like an hour and a half away, but it is basically like a foreign country to at least me, and like I don't know of any. I'm sure I have some musician friends that have been there, but like, what is the scene like in Indianapolis, and like, what are like some of the best venues to go if you're visiting and you want to see music, or if you're a musician and wanna play out in Indianapolis?
Well, I mean, before
Yeah.
COVID,
Oh, yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
we have songwriters. I have a network of songwriters. I have, a whole contact list of people I talk to all the time. And we have jazz players. We have a huge jazz scene. We have, like, in different suburbs of Indianapolis, there's different, like, groups of people. We have a hip hop scene. We have, drag. We have all kinds of stuff. And it's all pure. It's all talent. We have so much talent. It's like just bleeding of talent. It's crazy. Um, the open mic. So I know you do a lot of open mic stuff. There's a local venue called Square Cat Vinyl, and they're a record shop, vinyl record shop, and they do once a month an open mic, and there's 30 people that show up to this thing just to perform one song,
Whoa.
and it's all good, like, quality stuff. And there's more females now too. As I know that's a struggle as is getting more female musicians out there. They're out there. It's just like there's always seems to be people that struggle to book them, and that's usually what happens. It's like, Megan, you're a woman, play this show. But yeah, I'm really happy with where I'm at right now in music locally and network. I have a really great network of people that are just awesome.
That
Um,
that's so
yeah.
cool. I would love to get up there sometime as both a fan and as a
Yeah.
musician. I think that it's like, why not? It's so close. Why
I
not?
will, I keep meaning to get back to Cincinnati too, and I would love to come back too. I
Okay. Well,
just
maybe we can Maybe we can set up like a gig exchange or something. That's always something I've wanted to do but never thought was a real thing. But hey, who knows?
It totally is. I
Yeah.
did that in Latvia. Yep.
Cool. And yeah. So how about we do a song, and then after that,
Okay.
we can talk a little bit about. Usually, I have a section for plugs. So like what you're working on and
Okay.
stuff, and we'll talk about that after your song, and then
Okay.
we'll get out of here. Sound good?
Well, I'll do a classic song, or one that I get a lot that people, of my songs that people know. This is "Give Me Time."
All right. Meghan Cristeen Martin, Give Me Time, Brian's Basement.
Sonic. Give me time to scream out loud. I need time to feel how I feel. 'Cause it's not right to keep it all in. I need time alone. Well, I've been stepping on the very tip of my toes and biting my tongue for far too long. It's about time I say how I mean. I don't know, there's not an answer, but that's how it goes. So give me time to scream out loud. I need time to feel how I feel. 'Cause it's not right to keep it all in. I need time alone. Well, I reserve the right to be sad sometimes. I can be angry the first thing in the morning. The sun will rise and I will burn with frustration for no reason. So give me time to scream out loud. I need time to feel how I feel. 'Cause it's not right to keep it all in. I need time alone. Together we are happy, but you don't know what is going on in my head. You smile at me and I refuse to see the light that shines in your eyes. Just give me time to scream out loud. I need time to feel how I feel. 'Cause it's not right to keep it all in. I need time
Right. Was that one that you were playing back when we first met at Motor?
Probably. It's
Yeah,
an old
I
one.
feel like
Yeah,
that was the old jam right there.
for
Well,
sure.
so we've reached the end of our show here. Do you have any plugs? Anything you're working on in this crazy, you're doing live streams, stuff like that, or anything else? Anything else you want to shout out?
Um,
Just have at it.
I mean, I don't. I have a couple festivals booked, but I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Right.
um, But like I said, like I'm on Patreon. I'm 20 weeks in. I started in January. Um, that was my New Year's resolution. I'm gonna write a poem a week, and we'll just see what happens. So, and I'm hoping that turns into a book. And I'm looking into, like, I'm researching self-publishing versus the traditional way. It seems to be the self-publishing is the way to go. So
Sure.
that's what I'm working on. I haven't really written anything new as of yet, but honestly, it's just I'm enjoying the time uh, spent to just have some space. Because I was doing a show pretty much every other weekend is what it felt like
Yeah.
last year, and so it's nice to just be able to recoup, have some space, and figure out what the next move is. And I think when the time is right and when pandemic is um, not as prominent, I think I'll be performing again and um, hopefully put another album together. Like the guys and I have talked about going into the studio and actually recording some, not just live, but just a new album.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's going to look like, but we'll see.
Yeah,
So
that's cool. I know personally, I'm enjoying this time too to kind of just think and regroup and reflect a little bit. And I know that once we can do live shows again, I'm really excited. Just go out there like firing on all cylinders, just like
yeah,
get crazy out there. So,
yeah, yeah.
where can our viewers find your music? And do you have any more? We mentioned breaking points as a maybe a good entryway into your music. I would say that Lydia video on YouTube. It's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Tiny
yeah.
Desk contest submission. I would check that out.
Actually, so yeah, Mother Mary is another song I didn't record or didn't perform tonight, but that's actually the one we submitted. So Lydia was kind of an off thing.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, so so when the pandemic was like when everything was canceling and shutting down, I had some friends. The same guy, Craig, from Fourth Sunday, put a show together with a guy named Ian Daniel and did a live stream of local Indianapolis music, and we were raising funds for that for musicians and as well as the Nashville tornado that happened around that time.
Yeah.
Um, so I did Lydia for that, and then Mother Mary was actually my entry for Tiny Desk, and which I haven't heard. That kind of changed the Tiny Desk entry too. I know they like
Yeah.
dragged that on for a while, but yeah, Mother Mary's a really good. I think my most recent best tune. But Lydia's a good one too. I That was a completely different style of
Yeah.
writing for me.
Right.
So
Cool. And
yeah,
and you can get your stuff. Your stuff's all on Spotify and
it's all on
and
Spotify
Bandcamp.
and Bandcamp. I've got some merch on Bandcamp. I've been making masks too. If you need one, let
There
me
you go.
know. Yeah,
So everyone out there, check it out. Like I said, I've been a fan from afar for many years, and it's a rewarding experience. So,
yeah. Well, I'll say this. Like I was telling Brian, like we did a sound check yesterday, and I was like, I still have your CD you gave me in my truck.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I really appreciate it, and I know it was kind of way out left field, but
I
I'm
love
really
it.
glad. I thought it was fun to get to know you a little better and
Yeah,
just figure out what you're all about. So thank you so
yeah.
much.
Thank you.
So yeah, so at this point, I'm gonna close the show with the song, and then we'll play the little music, and then after the music's done, if you stay on the line, we can chat a little bit before.
Sounds good.
All right, cool. Well, thank you everyone out there for tuning in again for another week of Brian's Basement. We've got another guest lined up next week, so we're still doing it. And thanks to everyone that submitted questions out there. And thanks to Kim for running the applause machine and fielding this question. So thank you to everyone that's doing that. So um, I'm gonna play a song real quick, a little short song. Um, this is so when Megan was talking about how her bandmates were just like, "Yo, can I play with you?" This is a song that my bass player Scott was like, "Oh, I want to play this song," and when he jumped in on the as the band, he added this really like cool groove that I've never imagined for it, and so live it's completely different. And so I think it just kind of illustrates what people in the band can add. So this song is called Walnut Trees. I had a dream of fields that stretched into eternity, and a little house that sat beneath bleak sullen skies. You sat on the covered front porch in a rocking chair. I saw the tears welling in your eyes, and the walnut trees grew, but they were not plentiful, and the money was in the wood and not the fruit. You said something about making it through the winter, as I tear the walnut trees up root by root, all up root by root. And harvest season came as it did every year, with colored tents and joyous music fill the air. I turned my back so I may toil in my field. I know the music could never reach me there, and the trees grew, but they were not plentiful, and the money was in the wood and not the fruit. You said something about faith and our salvation, as I tear the walnut trees up root by root, all up root by root. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week. So until then, have a great week and be safe out there.